If you've seen any of my last few videos, you will know that I recently updated my kitchen and my dining room with some paint and trim updates. Join me today as I take some Pier 1 drapes that I have had for, maybe a decade and customize them to work in our new house. Practically speaking, it feels like interior design is just about spending a lot of money to get a high-end look. But do you know how design was defined for me when I went to interior design school? My professor told me that design is solving problems. So let's talk about some of the problems that I have to solve in here today, and I am hoping to use these drapes to do it. In this window, I have a lot of trouble controlling the light. And I love the view into the back. We back up to woods. On the other side of the woods is a buffered area that will never be built upon. So I don't want to impede my view, and I don't really want to put blinds on there. But in the afternoons, especially in the winter when there's no leaves on the trees, I get an extremely bright light shining right on my seat at the dining table. So I would love to be able to just pull these curtains shut a little bit so that I can not have that glare in my eyes if we're having a late afternoon lunch or early dinner. Also, this is an old house, and maintaining its temperature with some breezy doors and windows can be a challenge. So I don't want anything to get in the way of this particular floor vent. Previously, I had these same drapes in their original floor length, and I had two panels in the middle, and when the HVAC was running, about half of the air was caught behind the drapes and not blowing out into the room. Lastly, another design challenge that I faced in this house is the closet that was built to house the washer and dryer was built in the 70s when washers and dryers were very cubical and they were a little bit smaller, and they fit in there very nicely. I am very fortunate to have upgraded my washer and dryer recently, and these front loaders have a very contoured face, and they didn't fit in the closet with the doors on. We had no choice but to remove the doors in order to keep the washer and dryer in the location where the washer dryer hookups exist. I don't like having my washer and dryer in an open kitchen, and I like it even less when I can't hide them behind doors. So I plan to use the leftover panels to create curtains to cover this laundry area so that I don't have to look at it. This is a very accessible project for anybody. You don't need any special equipment to accomplish this. When I worked as a designer, we had many custom drapes made, and I can tell you that the hems of those drapes were entirely hand done. While you would need a sewing machine to accomplish special pleating and lining, what we're talking about today is simply hemming drapes to the length that is appropriate, and that is done entirely by hand. I needed scissors to cut the drapes. I needed measuring tape to establish the length. I used an iron and an ironing board because that does make for a very nice finished project, and it is much easier to sew those hems if you have pressed in the creases first. That and needle and thread. And it doesn't even take that long because you don't need to make your stitches super close together or super tight. I know that having curtains that don't go all the way to the floor is not considered on trend right now. These are not high-end drapes, and there is nothing that I can do that's going to make them look like high-end drapes. And frankly, I don't need a high-end look in my little house in the woods. It is a house in the woods, and I'm fine with that aesthetic. We chose this house for this location, so I don't need it to look like an uber modern city home or loft because it is a house in the woods. And I don't care if my curtains are not on trend. I just need them to solve the problems and look good while doing it. And I think I did that. I love the way these drapes function so easily. Grommet top drapes are also no longer trending, but you know what? At the end of the day, they do serve a very nice function. They are very easy to open and close. And so for someone that does need to move these drapes regularly, easily opening and closing them without having to zhuzh them up to make them look all perfect, grommet tops accomplish that. So I feel no regrets. no regrets. Also, I like to use what I have. I don't need to spend extra money right now, especially on something that may end up being just a temporary solution. And soft goods are a great way to do an update to a room. No matter how big or how small, just adding some soft furnishings, pillows, throw blankets, and curtains can make a huge difference. I'm very pleased with how this project came out. Using this piece of wood as the curtain rod in front of the washer dryer is a smidge more rustic than it needs to be. It's still an incremental improvement over what it was, and I had that wood, so I didn't have to buy anything, and I am all about saving a buck. So when we were talking about how we were gonna hang these curtains up, we went into the garage, looked around, and see what we had that would fit the bill. And the grommets fit around this piece of wood. We just had to cut it to length and put it in this doorway. Mission accomplished, problem solved, design for the win. Thank you for stopping by my channel today. I am so happy that you spent this time with me. Please consider watching some of my other videos. Give me a like, a subscribe, and come back again as I continue to take our home from the gray-skinned rental property they made it into our little cozy house in the woods.